Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to today's roundup. Now, first up for you today, Bernie's back. Remember him as if we could ever forget. But he's been saying that he believes that Lewis Hamilton is bigger than Formula One. Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to divide opinion at all, but the former F1 boss was talking to autocar.co.uk in what was actually quite a wide-ranging interview where he gave his view on a number of topics regarding the sport. And when asked specifically about the six-time world champion's approach to Formula One, Bernie said, yeah, he's different, that's great, he's a first-class guy. He's actually bigger than F1. There's nothing wrong with launching clotheslines or having rappers as friends. I don't think people give him an instruction book and start telling him what to do. He is in a position where he can speak out and wake a few people up, and I am pleased he's using it. Bernie went on to add that although he doesn't want anybody to get hurt, he agrees with some of the drivers' views that the sport is almost too safe now and has lost some of its, quote, knife-edge excitement. As you can imagine, with this being Bernie Ecclestone, that wasn't all, because he had his say on Max Verstappen and specifically how the Dutchman is possibly the only driver on the current F1 grid who would be a match for Hamilton if the two of them had equal machinery, although Mr. Ecclestone did go on to add that he feels Sebastian Vettel would also be able to take the fight to Hamilton, but admitted that the German had gone off the boil over recent seasons. When asked in that same interview who he believed the best driver on the grid was, Bernie said, "You would automatically say Lewis. But are there other guys who would do a job as good or better than him in the same team? Probably, yes. Max Verstappen, 100%. Certainly Sebastian Vettel, although he has gone off a little bit. All these guys are as good as the support they get. Lewis has got the maximum support. There's not one thing missing from what he's got behind him." Well then, what do you make of that? Do you agree with Bernie that Lewis Hamilton is actually bigger than Formula One? Personally, I don't think any driver or any team for that matter is bigger than the sport, but I do agree that he has got one hell of an influence, and it's great that he's used that influence to take F1 to new audiences and to help raise the profile of the series. Bigger than F1 though? Not for me. Like I say, no team, no driver, bigger than the sport. But anyway, as well as that, do you agree that Max Verstappen really is the only driver on the current grid who would be able to match the Brit in equal cars? You can, as ever, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Next up, and Brawn has revealed that a budget cap for next year has finally been agreed and that it will be set at $145 million. That is 30 million less than the original figure set last year, but is still a considerable amount more than that $100 million target that some teams were hoping for. However, although a level has now been agreed, there still appears to be the possibility that the amount could fall further for future seasons, with Brawn stating in an interview with Sky F1, "We are going to start at 145. The discussion now really is how much further down we can drive it the next few years. Midfield teams in particular are going to be much better off in terms of their portion of the prize money, so it's been balancing in every direction. We reduce the amount of money that can be spent in Formula One and we are improving the distribution of the prize funds more evenly amongst the teams. So a good midfield team should be able to score podiums, maybe even a win, and it should make a small profit. And if we can achieve that, then we've got a very sustainable future." Brawn went on to insist that the new cap is not just something that will favour these smaller teams, but it will in fact be a benefit to the entire grid and it will enable the sport to reach its target of making the field more competitive. I suppose the question now is how long before things are all signed off and ready to go for next year. After all, the Concord agreement has yet to be signed, and so technically speaking we have no teams for next year, although I'm sure most of them will sign up eventually. Well, on the topic of the time frame, Brawn does expect that all the details will be set out to the teams in the next few days and is confident that things are now in the final stages. I'm sure we can all agree that we'd love to see a more competitive field, but is a cost cap going to be enough? Surely, what Formula One really needs is a massive rules reset, and that is something that we were supposed to be getting next year, 2021. But that now, of course, has been pushed back by a year because of all the concerns over the financial implications that's going to have. But on top of discussing the apparent agreement between teams on that budget cap, Brawn also made it clear that despite rumours and reports saying otherwise, there are no plans to push the new regulations back any further than 2022. So again, as I'm sure you'll remember, 2021 was set to see the Formula One regulations get one of their biggest overhauls in the recent history of the sport. However, with all that uncertainty around what's going to happen after this global pandemic, the sport knew that they needed to cut the costs, and it was agreed between all teams, the FIA and Liberty Media, that the new regulations should be put on hold to allow the sport to recover from the inevitable financial hit it is going to take. And as those cost-cutting conversations continued, it was widely reported that teams had agreed to move them back by another year to 2023. And that is something which was, it must be said at the time, rejected by F1's governing body. But although Brawn has said that the new rules will definitely come into force in 2022, he admitted that some teams are still pushing for a further delay, but that is not an idea that Liberty Media are on board with. Some teams are pushing to delay them for a further year, but I think there's a justifiable need to carry these cars over into next year because we are in the middle of a terrible crisis. The initiatives that we are bringing in with these new regulations are to make the sport more economically viable in terms of the complexity and where the money is spent. The cars we have now are so complex that the more you spend, the quicker you go. We need to level off that slope and create a situation where money is not the only criteria for how competitive you will be. Therefore, we need these new cars to even that slope out. We have to maintain the integrity of F1, it's a sport and it still has to have the best people winning. But I think we can have a competitive form of racing in the future with these new regulations, with these new cars. They've been deferred a year, but they are definitely coming in 2022. And I'm sure that's some news that a lot of you will be very, very happy to hear. But to be honest, I'm just glad that it looks as though the budget cap has been agreed because that's all we've been talking about over the last few weeks. So budget cap apparently done, ticking that box. And the new regulations that so many of us are looking forward to are, according to Ross Brawn anyway, let's err on the side of caution here, are definitely coming into force in 2022 and won't be pushed back any further. So that's a tick in that box as well. But, like I say, I'm erring on the side of caution because this is Formula 1 and things tend to rumble on for quite a while. And people's positions or teams' positions can change extremely quickly. Hopefully, though, we will have some official news soon or an announcement soon that teams have signed up for next year and beyond. I know I keep banging this drum, but we cannot afford to lose any teams. So Formula 1, please get this right and make sure that we've got a sport to enjoy for years to come. McLaren boss Andreas Seidel has said that the team will not be joining any other teams in protest of the 2020 Racing Point car as he considers it to be legal. Now, ever since the RP20 was officially unveiled at pre-season testing, my word does that feel like an eternity ago, all this fuss. But since then there has been a lot of talk that a number of teams within the midfield were unhappy with what appeared to be a direct copy of last year's Mercedes, and they were set to launch a protest once the season was underway. One of the more vocal teams on the topic were, possibly unsurprisingly, Renault. However, according to Racing Point's technical director Andrew Green, the FIA gave the car the all clear. We'll do this bit first, but speaking to Autosport, Green said that a lack of egos at Racing Point meant they were able to look at what Mercedes were doing and accept that the Silver Arrows were clearly doing a better job, and so essentially, why not take inspiration from their design? I think that's a big plus point for us, and I think that's why a lot of teams wouldn't be able to do what we did because there's too many egos involved. Too much, oh no, that idea is not invented here syndrome. We'll do our own because we know better. Well, we are running in 4th place, several seconds off Mercedes, so it's a difficult argument for us to sit in a room and go, actually, we think we're doing a much better job than Mercedes. We should just carry on doing what we are doing. We were just honest and said, look, they are doing a better job than us. What are they doing? What are they doing that's that good? And so those are the discussions that you can have when you don't have the egos within the team. Now, whilst customer cars are banned in Formula 1, there is absolutely nothing in the regulations that states a team cannot copy another team's design. In fact, that is something we've seen for many years in the sport, possibly even right from the off in 1950. And so as long as no information was sent from Mercedes to Racing Point, something like, here's how we build the front end of our car, then everything is completely above board. Hence why Andreas Seidel isn't going to waste his time with any kind of protest. McLaren is an independent racing car manufacturer, and we want to stay that way. We pursue ambitious goals, and we want to achieve them with hard work. I am sure that everything about this car is legal. I see no basis for a protest. And besides, I don't have time to waste my energy on it. For me, other issues are more important, like the upcoming budget limit. So, McLaren won't be launching any protest against Racing Point once the season starts, but I'm almost certain this is not the last we're going to hear of this. If the Pink Panthers, let's call them, why not, rock up to the first race of 2020 and easily beat Renault, I fully expect to see things kick off again. And maybe that's something that Renault are waiting on, just waiting to see what happens. Let's be realistic about this. Ultimately, if it results in Racing Point being 2 seconds a lap slower than Renault, the French manufacturer are not going to give a damn that that car's a direct copy of the W10. But if they are quicker and beating them comfortably, I can guarantee you they will not be happy and everything will kick off. There'll be protests left, right and centre. But again, the FIA have apparently cleared the car, and so long as no information has exchanged hands, it is completely above board, totally legal. That is it though for this video, but you can as ever let me know your thoughts on any of the stories featured today down in the comment section, and don't forget to let me know what you think about some of Bernie's comments. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime, don't forget that you can of course follow me over on social media, and all of the links you need for that are in the description down below. And also, I'm very happy to announce that I've teamed up with the official F1 store this year, so if you are after getting yourself some F1 merch, then please do consider using the link in the description down below. And on top of that, you can also get yourself 10% off in the store if you use the code F1word10 at checkout. Now that awkwardness is out of the way, I'm going to disappear. So as ever, thank you for watching and I will catch you again in the next one. Bye-bye.